Morning everybody, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing great because we finally get to talk about the amazing Lucas again. Opportunities like this don't come too often, so when they do, I gotta take advantage of it. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly did the amazing Lucas do this time? And if you are wondering that, well then clearly you probably didn't read the title and thumbnail. But yes, as you can tell from the title and thumbnail, the amazing Lucas wants Phil Spencer fired because he's not going to make Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox. This Activision deal has broken Lucas so bad that his mind is like working in reverse now. He is now advocating for Xbox to keep games off of PlayStation. And once you hear his reasons for wanting that, you're probably gonna die of either cringe or laughter. But it essentially boils down to the argument of exclusives good, which as the consumer, you should not be making that argument. You being forced to buy a console you don't want to just to play certain games is not something you should want. I'm not saying you have to be like, oh, put PlayStation games on every platform, put Xbox games on PlayStation. I'm just saying you shouldn't be arguing for more exclusivity, because not only is it bad for consumers, but as we've seen more recently with, I'm pretty sure, Final Fantasy 16, that game did not sell as well as Square Enix wanted to, because guess what? It was only available on one platform. That's not to say the game was a failure, but if I remember correctly, they said it failed to meet their high-end expectations. But whatever, before I go off on too much of a tangent, let's go ahead and get right into this.
Oh my goodness. So for the benefit of the gaming community, all right, that means for PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo, Phil Spencer needs to step down. It's done. It's a wrap. It's game over. I'm being dead ass right now. I'm being serious, okay?
I mean, I don't know how you could see all the work that Phil has done and then say, yeah, he needs to step down. Because just to put this into perspective for a second, aside from the whole Xbox One being a sinking ship thing and him turning that around, when Phil took over in 2014, Xbox had what, like 6 or fewer studios? It may have even been like 5 or something like that. And now here we are 9 years later, Xbox now has 35 studios. Not only that, in 2017, Xbox made $9 billion. Last year, they made $16 billion. Is Xbox at its best point right now? No, I think most people would argue that was during the 360 era. But Phil Spencer does not need to step down. Then again, I guess Lucas probably wants Xbox to fail. So maybe that's why he's saying Phil needs to step down, because he's doing too good of a job.
Because I came across this interview. He's at the Xbox interview, the Xbox podcast, and eventually the question arises, right? Given the big acquisition, you know, the biggest in gaming history of Activision Blizzard, they're naturally asking, hey, what's next? Like, what's going to happen, you know, in response to COD? What's going to happen with new games? What's going to happen with exclusives and stuff like that? Which is natural, right? I want people to understand this is a good thing. Exclusives are a good thing, okay? They're not bad. That doesn't mean it doesn't take anything away from another person. It's a good thing.
Lucas, the whole point of an exclusive game is to keep that game away from other platforms, so people are forced to buy another console in order to play that game. By definition, exclusives are taking something away from you. It's in the name exclusive. They're excluding people from playing them. How is forcing somebody to buy a plastic box that they don't want just to play a game a good thing? Or I guess to put it the way you said it, how is it not a bad thing?
Because I want you to understand the reason why you buy a Mercedes over a Honda, or a Honda over, I don't know, a Lincoln Navigator or a Ford truck, right? There are features and benefits that each of those vehicles has.
That analogy doesn't even fit this conversation. It would make sense if you were comparing console hardware, but we're talking about games. In fact, in some sort of ironic way, that argument that you just made can actually be twisted against you. You're saying people buy the different cars because of the features. So the equivalent to that on a console would be things like quick resume or the haptic feedback on the PlayStation controller. Those are features of the consoles. Games are not features. And here's where I'm gonna twist the analogy around on you. So you're saying consoles are like cars in that, oh, you buy different cars because of the features. So in a hypothetical world where PlayStation put their games on Xbox and vice versa, wouldn't that force them to make more appealing consoles with better features to attract people to their side instead of forcing them to go over with exclusive games? All cars perform the same function, right? They all drive you you places. The car equivalent to having exclusive games would be if car manufacturers started buying up highway rights and you had to own that company's car to drive on the highway. That would not be good for anybody. I have no problems with comparing consoles or games to cars, but you've got to do it right.
What he is attempting to do is make all of them accessible to everyone. That is impossible, okay? Not only is this dumb, but this is bad business practice. I don't know what to tell you. Listen to me when I say this. Competition is good. It is good, okay? He comes out and says, well, I don't want to do any of that, all right? I don't want people to miss out.
If competition is such a good thing, then why have you been so against this deal going through? Microsoft having more developers would make it easier for them to compete, wouldn't it? Yet you didn't have a problem dunking on them almost 2 years ago when this acquisition was announced. And I love how he says, oh, this is bad business practice. If Microsoft's goal was only to sell Xbox consoles, then yes, this would be a bad idea. But it's been very clear ever since they started going day and date on PC ports, their goal is not to sell consoles. Their goal is to sell you their games, and they're going to do that by whatever means necessary. That's why they've been signing contracts with Nintendo and Nvidia and all these companies. They want more people to play their games because then they will make more money. You're looking at this from the perspective of, oh, Xbox only wants to sell consoles, when they very obviously don't. They just want to sell you their games and subscription services. And one more thing, I just love how at the beginning of the clip he says this is dumb. Yeah, trying to make it so more people can access your games is dumb. What idiot would want to put their games on more platforms so they can get more sales? Just a bunch of losers, am I right? Now give me a second, I gotta go back and play some more Spider-Man and God of War on my PC.
What on earth is he talking about? Miss out? What do you mean miss out? By the nature of the gaming industry, people are going to miss out. Those who don't have a Nintendo Switch, they're gonna miss out on the next Bayonetta. People who don't have an Xbox, they're gonna miss out on the next Gears of War. People who don't have a PlayStation 5, you're gonna miss out on Spider-Man 2. That is how the world works.
And that's the whole problem. Do you not understand this? You just described the issue that people have with exclusives. They don't want to miss out on these games. But in order to not miss out on them, they have to spend a few $100s on a plastic box. How can you start the clip with, what do you mean miss out? And then describe exactly what he means. Wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to miss out? Wouldn't it be great if Spider-Man 2 came to PC and Xbox day and date? Wouldn't it be great if Outer Worlds 2 came to PlayStation? Wouldn't it just be spectacular if Mario Wonder came to PC, Xbox, and PlayStation? And we actually got to play on the platforms we prefer? But no, according to Lucas, this is dumb. But anyway, he plays a clip from the Xbox interview here, so I'm just gonna skip past it. It's basically Phil talking about what he's already said.
Him trying to say, well, I'm not going to do any exclusive content, no skins, no timed exclusive, none of that. And you can expect, as far as any type of games to come out in 2024, that's what we're looking at, probably on the back end of 2024. This is not good. This is some, he's running Microsoft Gaming with some false sense, some misguided sense of moral high ground, where he's like, hey, we're not going to do what PlayStation would do because we're the good guys. We care about everybody. Listen, all this kumbaya, leave it for religion, all right? That's what works good with religion, kumbaya. When it comes to business, this is how you die. This is how you go night-night.
Nah, hear me out. Taking Call of Duty away from the platform that it sells best on, that is how you go night-night. Okay, it's not necessarily gonna kill Xbox, but do you not understand how much money they would be missing out on if they didn't put Call of Duty on PlayStation? Like, I'm pretty sure PlayStation sells the most copies of Call of Duty every year, and that's before you even consider all the microtransactions. For a single-player game like Starfield, it's more understandable. I mean, I still want it to be on PlayStation, but it's more understandable to make that exclusive because you're not dependent on keeping the game alive with constantly having players online, selling microtransactions, all that stuff. Multiplayer games like Call of Duty rely on having the biggest community playing possible because they don't just want to make money up front, they want to make money over time. And guess what? If they take away a huge chunk of the player base, that's just going to contribute to not only a ton of lost money, but also that's probably going to kill the game faster. Because again, for a multiplayer game to continue to live, it has to have a player base. Why do you think Sony is going to be doing their live service multiplayer games day and date on PC? They need more people to play their game to keep it going. Look, I'm not trying to claim I'm a business professional. I'm not even a business major, but it is very obvious that Lucas isn't either.
And as we can see on every single metric to judge Xbox, it's behind. People want to praise Xbox Game Pass. It's behind. The sales are low. As far as gathering new people to Xbox Game Pass are on the decline. They're raising the prices. That's when the benefits of Xbox Game Pass. Hey, you get to play our exclusives, but with the, Game Pass, you can play them instead of paying, $80. You can just pay $16.99 a month and get access to it. But the thing is, unless you are a fan of indie developers, you're not even getting the benefit of Xbox Game Pass because Xbox is not producing any noteworthy exclusives.
Ever heard of Starfield, Lucas? No? Okay. Forza Horizon 5 and Forza Motorsport? No. Hi-Fi Rush? I mean, you're acting like there's only indie titles besides the Xbox first-party stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at some big AAA titles. How about Lies of P? Just a little game that came out recently. Like a Dragon Ishin? The Ace Attorney trilogy? And that's just from scrolling through the recently added tab. But I also have to ask, why do you care if the Xbox Game Pass sales are down? Like, why does that matter to you? That doesn't change the fact that Game Pass is a great deal and has a ton of great games on it. Microsoft will worry about themselves and you should worry about yourself. Because at the end of the day, they don't care about you, so why should you care about them? It's just so weird that he's acting like the whole value of Game Pass comes from the Xbox exclusives and nothing else. Why do you think Netflix started to go downhill, dude? It's because they lost a ton of the good third-party stuff. Alrighty, anyway, we gotta keep going.
What are we talking about? Are you guys really excited to play Redfall? Think about this, okay? Competition is good. He is damaging the entire Xbox legacy at this point. It's not a good thing. You've damaged as far as Gears. Where's Gears? They have just rolled Gears into dust, okay? Into dust. I love Gears of War. I love that franchise. They have driven that into the ground. Halo Infinite, driven that into the ground. Whether exclusive, and then they give you Redfall, driven that into the ground. Starfield, driven that, well, that was already at the ground. Okay, I don't know why people are coping, talking about, it's the game of the generation. Listen.
I'm not even gonna address the Starfield being driven into the ground thing. I think we all know that's incorrect. Redfall, yes, I can definitely agree with you. And they've definitely fumbled with Gears in the more recent years, and we still don't know when Gear 6 is coming out. But Halo Infinite was a very bad example to use. The game is in the best state it's ever been, and it's legitimately great now. But again, I love how he says competition is great when he was the one who didn't want this deal to go through. But hey, Lucas, watch this. Now I'm gonna name a bunch of IPs that PlayStation hasn't touched in a while. Where's Killzone, Jak and Dexter, Sly Cooper, Infamous, SOCOM, Ape Escape? Man, all these IPs are gone. I guess PlayStation is just in a terrible spot. Let's ignore all the great games they've been putting out over the last couple years. You see what I mean? I can do the same thing. And look, here's the thing. You can have your opinion on Starfield or whatever, but if I say I don't like God of War and Spider-Man, does that mean Jim Ryan is automatically damaging the PlayStation brand? No, that's not what that means. You can hate Starfield all you want, but that game did numbers. It was the #1 selling game of last month in the US, and that's not including Game Pass. That is just raw sales. And I think it was the 7th best selling game this year so far. And again, it's only been out for a little over a month. But yeah, Phil Spencer's just damaging the brand, am I right?
I don't mind as far as Xbox having exclusive content with Call of Duty. What is the reason for the acquisition then? Huh? That doesn't make any sense. You spend the billions of dollars to get this acquisition, and then you don't leverage it for sales of your console? How does this make sense to anyone? Because it doesn't to me. From a business perspective, this is foolishness.
Again, because especially for a game like Call of Duty, which is multiplayer, you need as many people playing it and spending money on it as possible. What is the purpose of the acquisition? Microsoft wants more money. Money Activision makes is money Microsoft makes now. It's pretty simple. I don't know what else you were expecting. And again, you're assuming that Microsoft just wants to sell consoles and that's it. It's very obvious they don't really care about that. They just want to sell you their games and services, and the Xbox console is one way in which they do that. Again, why do you think they're putting their stuff on Nvidia's subscription service and on Nintendo's new console? It's because they want to make as much money off software as possible. They really don't care about hardware that much. And this is really where we're seeing the pony come out of Lucas, I think, the most in this video. He is so obsessed with, oh, console sales, especially to a company like Microsoft who doesn't even make money on each console sale. I don't understand why this is so hard for you to understand. Sorry, I just explained it earlier, I guess. He's got the pony mindset.
You spend all this money, right? All this money to get this acquisition, and then you don't even leverage the acquisition for the benefit of your players. He's trying to play kumbaya for everyone. No one else is doing that. When you are trying to worry about everyone else, while everyone else is worrying about themselves, you are always going to lose. You are always going to be in last place. Nintendo is not saying that. Nintendo, you wonder who Nintendo is worried about? People who have the Nintendo Switch. That is who Nintendo is worried about. You wonder who PlayStation is worried about? People who have a PlayStation 5. That is who PlayStation is worried about. Do you want to know who Xbox is worried about? Everyone else except Xbox players.
No, that's not what's happening at all. It's not like Xbox is focusing on putting their games on PlayStation instead of the Xbox console or something like that. Just because other people get the games and other people get some focus put onto them doesn't mean that Xbox isn't focusing on the people who play on Xbox anymore. There's nothing wrong with them having a different strategy than PlayStation and Nintendo, because PlayStation and Nintendo are like, okay, you know what? If you want to play our games, you gotta come to us, or if you're on PC, you gotta wait a couple years. Xbox is taking the opposite approach. They're going to the other people who they want to have as their customers, while also continuing to support their current customers. And this actually relates to the whole multi-plat Call of Duty thing really well, because guess what? From now on, if you buy a Call of Duty game, even if it's on PlayStation, you are now an Xbox customer. Just like from now on, when you buy an expansion in Destiny 2, you are a Sony customer. So Xbox, just through this acquisition alone and keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation, has basically gained a few million more customers. And guess what? If the customers aren't going to you, then you gotta go to them, which is why PlayStation is ramping up its PC port strategy.
That's who he's concerned with, okay? He's concerned with PlayStation players, he's concerned with Nintendo players, and he's concerned with Xbox players, okay? He needs to step down. This is nonsense. Xbox players should be fuming. They should be completely agitated. They should be demanding him to step down, because he's not doing any benefit towards your console. He's not doing any benefit towards the gaming community, towards the gaming industry. It's an L after an L after an L after an L. And you're in a worse position than where you previously were.
Yeah, you know, adding Bethesda and Activision games to Game Pass is doing so much damage to the industry. And again, I love how he says, oh, he's not concerned with Xbox players, when first of all, Xbox players are still getting all the games, all the services, and everything. So I don't see how they're not a priority. But on top of that, he's basically saying, how dare Phil Spencer want to get more people into the Xbox ecosystem by going to them? That's just such a terrible thing. Like, I'm really just not following this argument. And can we talk about the fact that he said you're in a worse position than you previously were? Are you trying to say that Xbox was in a better position back during the Xbone launch than they are right now? You know, they were quite literally on life support when that happened because they butchered that console so bad. Are you really trying to say that, oh, that's when they were doing better? I'm not arguing that Xbox is in the best position they've ever been in. I'm just saying that Phil Spencer's done a ton of great things for the company. And obviously there's been hiccups, but there's also been a ton of great stuff that's happened.
This is frustrating to me, brother. This is frustrating to me as a PlayStation player. I wish somebody would come out and say, you know what? Well, we don't want to do all of that. We want everyone to have access to Spider-Man 2. We want Xbox players to have access. We want the Nintendo people to have access. We don't want to have any exclusives. You know, when it comes to other games, we don't want to have exclusive content. We don't even want to have timed exclusives where, you know, PlayStation players get it a week before. We don't want to do that. We want to, bro, I would sell my PS5 that same day, bro. I would sell it that same day. Oh, that's how you're gonna do it? All right, cool, bro. Let me switch to PC then.
I'm so mixed right now because on one hand, I think it's a great idea to switch to PC, but on the other hand, I really don't want Lucas to be on PC. But bro, this is like a classic console fanboy Twitter moment. PlayStation announces a PC port for a game, and then people are like, oh, I'm selling my PS5, it's worthless now. Like, it's such an overreaction. Other people getting access to the things that you've had access to should not upset you. And by the sounds of it, Lucas, you kind of sound like you want to switch to PC, because you said if PlayStation stopped doing exclusive stuff, you would just move to PC. So then shouldn't you be advocating for PlayStation to not have all their stuff be exclusive, so that way you can play on PC like you clearly want to and not be forced to play on your PS5? There's a word I'm looking for. I don't think it's Stockholm Syndrome, but there's something I'm looking for to describe this. It's like he's so used to PlayStation having exclusives that even though he could just switch to PC and play the game in a better form on PC, he'd rather Sony continue to force him to play on his PlayStation instead. My mind keeps saying Stockholm Syndrome, but please let me know if you have a better way to describe it. But yeah, anyway guys, to my surprise, that's actually going to be the end of the video there. The rest of it is just him rambling about how we don't need to end the console wars, and he almost tells people to off themselves, but he stops himself before he does. Just stuff that's not worth talking about, and plus I think you guys have heard enough of Lucas's voice for today, and probably enough of mine as well, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Basically what we learned is PlayStation fanboys now want Phil Spencer fired for not making games exclusive to Xbox. They want him fired for not taking games away from them. I say this a lot, but you cannot make this up. But anyway, be sure to like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you all next time.